Good evening, jolly tea drinkers, and welcome back. We're so glad that you've joined us for Chapter 7 of our holiday mystery, Tea and Basketball. Okay, team, let's rewind. After seeing the security footage and spotting a mysterious person in a hoodie, the team, now joined by Reggie, the security guard, has made it their mission to find the missing basketball. With time running out, they've decided to split up to cover more ground. But with danger lurking and unknowns around every corner, it could be risky. Will the team find the culprits in time? And what will they uncover as they each head in different directions? Ooh, grab your tea, stay close, and get ready for the next chapter of this exciting mystery. Let's see where the story goes from here. Tea and Basketball Chapter 7 begins now. Mr. Coffee and Miss Tea entered the room and looked around. "Oh, look at that," said Miss Tea. "I didn't notice that door before. Is that a closet?" They walked closer to the door and noticed that it was slightly open. "I don't think this door was open when we were here earlier," he said. "Someone might be in there," she whispered. They slowly and quietly walked over to the door and opened it. They stepped inside and looked around. It was a room being used as a storage space. "Hello?" called Miss T. "Anyone in here?" said Mr. Coffee. They walked further into the room and examined the items inside. "Okay, so it's a room filled with a lot of stuff," said Miss T. "I didn't realize that the youth center had accumulated so many items in such a short period of time," he said as he looked around. Suddenly, the door closed behind them, leaving an eerie silence in the quiet space. "What just happened?" asked Miss T nervously. Mr. Coffee quickly went to the door and attempted to open it, but it was no use. The door was locked and they were trapped inside. "We're trapped?" she asked. "They locked us in a closet?" "They did," said Mr. Coffee. I'm guessing whomever stole the ball has figured out that we're on the trail." He began to pace around the small room. "This is crazy. They can't just keep us in here." She banged on the door. Hey! Let us out of here!" "It's no use. Everyone's in the gym and no one can hear us." His voice trailed off for a moment. Then he shook his head and said, "We're going to have to wait for Paulina and Reggie to make their way back to this room to find us." "I'm calling her right now," said Miss T as she pushed buttons on her phone. She held it up in the air and moved it around. "Oh, shoot. I don't have good service in here. How about you?" He looked at his phone and said, "Only one bar, but let me try." He tapped on his phone furiously. "No, the call won't go through." "What are we going to do?" she asked. "We're going to wait for Paulina and Reggie. They will come looking for us." "Are you okay?" asked Miss T as she stepped closer to him. You're sweating." It's a little hot in here." He tugged at the collar of his sweatshirt. It's like they didn't install any ventilation in here, but I guess why would they? It's a closet." He laughed strangely. "Sean, Are you having a panic attack? I don't know. This room is so small that there's not enough space on. And why is it so hot? He removed his sweatshirt wildly. Sean! Miss T grabbed a hold of him. I think you're having a panic attack. It's okay. It's going to be okay. What if they never find us? His breathing intensified. They will find us. She looked around. Here, sit down on this crate. I don't. Sean, I'm right here with you. Everything is going to be okay. Come, sit with me over here. He relented and allowed her to lead him and sit down. He dropped his head between his knees. Then he sat up and stared at the door, nervously, with quick breaths. She hugged him. It's okay. Nothing bad is going to happen. Close your eyes and let's take some deep breaths. She placed her arm around him and slowly rocked both of them from side to side. There you go. Good. That's good. Just focus on your breathing. Deep breath in and slow breath out. He continued to stare at the door. Don't look at that silly door. No, look at me. He turned to face Miss T. Okay, yes. Okay, now what? I can tell you a story to distract you. I watched this fun, cheesy rom-com mystery movie the other day. Do you like those kinds of movies? I do. I really enjoy them. They're corny and predictable, but so much fun. So, in this particular one, there was a burglary at a museum, and this FBI male agent pretended to be dating a civilian woman, and they attended a fancy gala at the museum to try to stop a necklace from being stolen. But then the criminal was already there and was too fast and stole the necklace anyway. They eventually caught the criminal using some sort of special FBI tracker thingy, and you'll never believe who the culprit was. The manager of the museum. Oh, it was an inside job. Can you believe it? It was such a good movie. I plan to watch it again. Maybe we should do a movie night. That might be fun. Mr. Coffee gently took her hands and held on to them. I would really like that, he said. They continued to stare at each other. Are you feeling better? She asked. Yes, a little. Thanks for the distraction, he said. Good, she smiled. Do you want me to tell you another story? Miss T? Paulina's panicked voice rang out in the silence. Alina! Mr. Coffee and Miss T jumped up and ran to the door. Paulina, we're in here, she yelled. The door is locked. We're trapped, said Mr. Coffee as he pounded on the door. Can you get us out of here? Asked Miss T as she placed a reassuring hand on Mr. Coffee's arm. I'll have you out of there in 1 minute, said Reggie. He looked through his keys, unlocked the door, and opened it. Miss T and Mr. Coffee came bounding out of the closet and wrapped Paulina in a big group hug. I've never been so happy to see you before in my life, said Mr. Coffee. Paulina responded, See, this is what happens when you split up. Are you guys okay? She looked them up and down with concern. Miss T looked at Mr. Coffee, who still seemed a little off kilter, and nodded. Yeah, I think so. What happened? Asked Reggie. Somebody intentionally locked us in that room, said Miss T. They must know that we're on their trail, said Paulina. I'm thinking, maybe, said Mr. Coffee, who's still trying to get himself together. Miss T placed her hand on his arm. Paulina looked at the touch, and her eyes darted between the two of them curiously. Mr. Coffee spoke again, stronger this time. They probably had to hide the ball. They couldn't leave the center just yet without drawing attention, so they would have to find new places to hide the ball around the center until it was time to exit the building. Well, where would be the best place to hide it? Asked Reggie. Mr. Coffee put his hands on his hips, shook his head, and said, Somewhere in plain sight. Upstairs in the gym, the ladies said in unison. Mr. Coffee looked at them, nodded, and smiled. Let's go, he said. And that's where we'll pause for tonight, jolly tea drinkers. Ooh, that was a close call. Miss T and Mr. Coffee locked in the closet. Ooh, luckily, Paulina came to the rescue just in time. But now, the big question remains. Could the missing basketball be upstairs in the gym? The adventure is far from over, and you won't want to miss what happens next. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night for Chapter 8 of Tea and Basketball to see if the team's hunches are correct. So, until then, relax, sip your tea, sleep peacefully, and we'll meet back here tomorrow for the next chapter filled with more mystery and tea-filled moments. Until next time, jolly tea drinkers.